The following is a presentation of iRacing on PTR TV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast. As yet another race on the Red Sox Racing League calendar ticks off, now we find ourselves across the pond in Italy. The circuit of Monza, or better yet known as Autodromo Dino Ferrari. This track has been known to have taken the life of the world famous Ayrton Senna back in 1994, but has since reconfigured, underwent modernizations, and is now still a staple on many racing calendars. Tonight it'll be a calendar event for our GT3 campaign, and let's see who can be the conqueror here tonight. Welcome everybody to the channel. Red Sox Racing League Fall GT3 Series 4 with the GT3 cars at Imola for race number 3. I'm going to be myself, Corey Silva, in the booth, and I will be doing the solo dolo show here today for the 30-minute race, as qualifying is just wrapping up here on the evening. Let's take a quick look at where everybody stands at this juncture in the session. We do have Mitch Heller, not a surprise to anybody, top of the board, but again, times are tight here in race number 3. I will say Mark Kedrowski has kind of turned over a new leaf here within the series. He did win one race. I think it was race 1, if I'm not mistaken. Mitch Heller getting the win last week. But let's see what happens here in week number 3. You can see them separated only by about 1/10 of a second. And then as you go back, you can see the time starting to decay. But look at that. 9th through, well, it just changed. But 10th, 11th, and 12th are essentially tied at a 1:44.20. I can tell you here, I do have the thousandths. They're actually separated by 5 1/1000ths of a second. David Berry at a 198, then a 2 flat, and then a 203 for Dale Green. So there's always really good parity middle of the pack here, and that really kind of sustains from about maybe 6 with Les Turner all the way down to even the remainder of the field. Everybody pretty much in about a 3/10 gap. We just have the guys here at the top of the pylon who are just kind of in their own little world here. But you can see there on the timer, we are less than a minute to go in qualifying. So these laps will stand, the ones that are being run right now. These laps will stand. And if they are able to complete it, they will, of course, still count. It's going to stay on track. We do have the cooldown counter in play, so as that timer does click all the way down to 0 here, as Mitch Heller goes and crosses the start-finish line with 30 seconds left. I don't think he'll get another lap in, even with the cooldown, but it will be rather close. He does have that about 10th-and-a-half gap over Kedrowski, whereas Kedrowski on circuit right now, I believe he is coming through one of the back chicanes here at Imola. I think that was Grassini, if I'm not mistaken. Now coming down the slope here into, I believe he is coming into Rivazza. Certainly is here. So this is the back end of the track, the second half of Rivazza, turn number 19. That'll be the conclusion here. Puts us back on the pit straight. You can see there on the timer, needs a 43 flat. Not going to get it pulling into pit lane. See Todd Pietri, I believe he is now coming through Grassani there, the turn 14-15 chicane. This lap will count. The cool down timer's on, but this lap will count if he can make it stick here. Currently fourth, only about 3.5 tenths off of the pole, so he does have some decent pace here today in that red, black, and white Corvette, but he's going to pull it into the pits as well. Not enough confidence that that lap is going to count. Chris Sherburne just started a lap. That will certainly not count. Tommy Ryan back in 8th. He was higher up in practice from what I saw on the timing sheets before I had started and went on air today. He was higher up, so maybe he can make this one stick. Maybe he can get a little bit closer in that mid 43 second bracket here. Coming through and back onto the pit straight. Looks like this lap will be a pretty decent one. Coming all the way through, shortening that straightaway as much as physically possible. There it is. This lap will be an improvement, quite a big improvement there. And that'll put him up to third. But as we have just now seen, I didn't catch it live, but Mitch Heller just kind of put it into turbo gear there for a brief moment. And he got himself down into the 42 second brackets. Now he's up by about a half second on the field. Mitch Heller doing Mitch Heller things. And now it's going to take a big bit of effort for anybody else to contend with him here tonight. They're going to have to be waiting on mistakes. And he has not been making very many of those as of late. It's Chris Sherburne here on screen. Sherburne currently 6th on the sheet. This lap will not count. It might just be doing it for a little bit of extra practice. But it will not count here on the sheet just because of the fact that, you know, he started it after the cool down. But the timer closing down here 2-0, so it just gives me the opportunity to thank everyone for tuning in here to the channel. If it's your first time, don't make it your last. Hit the like and subscribe button here on our mission to 1,400 subscribers. We are getting ever so close to it. Just need a little bit more help from you and the friends. So if you could just take care of that little duty for us. If you have a sub account, you know, just whatever you can do, we in the league, of course, appreciate it. But now these guys heading down trackside for the starting lineup here from Imola, and let's go ahead and give it to you right on here for the starting lineup. Starting this race from the front row, going to be none other than, if my grid graphic wants to pull up, it's going to be Mitch Heller with a 142.732. Mark Kedrowski just to his outside, about 0.4 of a second in arrears. Third will be Tommy Ryan. Dave Hill going to start in the 4th spot with a 143.4. Todd Pietri in 5th with Chris Sherburne in the 6th spot. 7th will find Les Turner with a 143.78. Brian Irby to his outside, very close behind him with a 79. Outside, rounding out our top 10, Dale Green and Sean Reese. And then 11th through 12th is going to be David Berry with Matt Hurley out of Wisconsin in that position. Jim Graziano in 13th, Gerald Livingston in 14th. Then we have Kevin Kyle in 15th, and heading a little bit further back, you'll find Andrew Humphrey in 16th. 21 cars here today. We have 17th being Dwayne McCarthy with Dennis Griffin back in his famous blue and black number 18 position car. He's 19th is Bill Pollocky, James Prostel in 20th. Shotgun on the field, going to be Mark Adgy there in the 21st spot. I believe we have the abbreviated pace lap here. So we're coming through Grassani here. I think we'll come down the hill into Rivazza and then get this race underway. Our weather conditions here today, and nice and clear skies, but it is a little bit late, 6:36 virtual time. So again, we won't be, there's no stadium lighting here. It's a little bit darker than usual, but still absolutely no worry about visibility here today. The sun might go down, shadows might get a little longer, track temp might go down a little bit, but nothing of any significance there here on the evening. So these guys will get ready for 2 more corners at pacing speed. And then we will have the run down the pit straight here. The pit straight net is nothing but straight here. Very quickly, our track map, you can see there's basically no straightaways here at Autodromo Enzo Di Dino Ferrari there, saying it completely with no accent. But coming onto the pit straight here, on the left side of your screen, going to be Mitch Heller, and there he goes. Now he's on the right side of the screen. Barney has the flag in hand. He's going to get it waving. And let's get 30 minutes of action underway here for the Red Sox Racing League. And let's go. Let's get it going on the loud pedal. Let's go racing off into turn number 1. Of course, turn number 1, Variante Tamburello. This is the famous corner that took Ayrton Senna's life. It used to be a sweeper, but now it is a chicane. Gets these cars nice and slow, gives them an opportunity for a pass. Now we race down into turn number 5 here, into Villeneuve corner. See everybody minding their P's and Q's, getting each other through these corners. Going down, that was Tosa, turn number 7 there. A little bit of a shoot now into turn number 8. Piratella, it's kind of a sweeping left-hand corner, not too sharp, so wouldn't expect to see any major passes there. Not really a significant braking zone. And then I turn number 11 to Minerali. See, Mitchell goes a little bit wide there, but plenty of space there to play with. These guys will exit that corner. And now they'll head into this little chicane switchback at the end of the chicane. We'll head down this little straightaway, two little kinks on this straightaway, and then the 2 90-degree left-hand corners, Ravazza, turn number 18 and 19, and that puts us back onto the pit straight. A lot of the track looks more complex than it actually is once you get driving it. Corners here are pretty well free-flowing. Tommy Ryan trying to hold off Dave Hill there for that 3rd spot there. Coming through the opening chicane, and now into turn numbers 5 and 6. Again, another little quick chicane here. Again, not a real passing opportunity, but get some load up, maybe into Tosa here, turn number 7. Nope, nobody is able to make any passes yet. Can see someone going pretty wide there on the AstroTurf, but that is still well in play here. So, of course, they do have to mind their P's and Q's with the incident cap here. Because as for every 6 incidents they accrue, it does actually get some point standings implications. Of course, the other known thing here with the series, you have to make it back to the pit lane after the race on the cooldown lap, or you will also undergo another penalty. Because we do have the pit stop required in the series, and you cannot just fuel your car up and run out, on the cooldown lap. You do have to fuel it up in its entirety to make it back. So there's other little nuances here within the series. But that number 13 car, Dave Hill, closing in hard on the binders. We got a Corvette and a Mustang, rival manufacturers. They're battling for that 3rd spot, heading back onto the pit straight here as Kedrowski in 2nd. You can see him there just doing whatever he can to stay in the tow of Mitch Heller. Heller obviously ran that stellar qualifying lap, but Kedrowski seemed to stick with him in the race pace for the predominant portion of the practices. So he's going to see what he can do, but every lap he just loses a little bit more, and once you kind of break this 1 second bracket, turns really just into lack of slipstream, and then the pure pace difference comes out, and Heller will both metaphorically and literally drive off in here to the sunset. Scrolling back here, trying to see if there's any other battles here going on circuit. We have a little three-way battle here. This is a 10th spot. 10th spot is that number 14, the Scooby-Doo car of David Berry, Sean Reese, the number 24. See that kind of radical green, black, and white Lambo there right in the middle. And then just behind that, you have another Corvette in the form of Matt Hurley. Going a little bit further up, I see another Corvette. Corvette seemed to be the car of choice here on the evening, as I kind of look at the split here on the back end, and it does seem like Corvettes are probably the number one car, probably second to the McLaren and maybe a few Mustangs in here. Ferraris here, of all things in Italy, are there's only about 2 of them here, so people aren't using that home car advantage, if you want to say it that. But either way, Dale Green, that battle has concluded itself. Mark Adji did not take to the grid, so we do have 20 cars here on circuit here, 5 minutes in. 4 laps on the board of an estimated 18 that we are looking to run here tonight. Closing in again, Dave Hill and Tommy Ryan. Dave Hill seems to have the upper hand, but as I said, this track doesn't really condone itself to being an easy track to pass. Exiting Villeneuve there into Tosa, there's not enough speed built up to really get a run, but he didn't get a run on the entry. But Tommy Ryan got really wheel spin centric there on corner exit. That opened the door for Dave Hill, gets him into the 3rd spot. He now has 2 seconds before he will find the rear bumper of Mark Kedrowski. Kedrowski has also fallen 2 seconds behind Mitch Heller. David Berry looks like he may be setting up a pass on Brian Irby. Irby in that orange and white Hooters. I believe that to be a Ferrari. Yes, it is. Want to make sure from a distance I got the manufacturer right. But yeah, that is one of the few Ferraris here in the grid. Looks like Irby is better at certain portions of the track, and then of course Berry better at other portions of the track. And I think through the technical bits, I think Irby has them, but on the faster sections of the track, it does appear that Berry might be a little bit better, but you know, that just could be ebbs and flows every lap. Sometimes things change up. Going all the way to the rear of the grid, Dwayne McCarthy in the Tim Hortons car, closing in on Dennis Griffin. Maybe a little bit of tow here down the front straightaway for Dwayne. Let's see if he uses any advantageous moves here into Tamburello. Kind of took a little bit of a peek just to get him to look in the mirror, but no move was executed there. But this battle seems to be the bunny one here today, so we'll kind of keep focused on that until we see anything else. You can see hard on the binders, Sean Reese into the corner there. I think that was into Tosa. Hard on the binders, but as that usually happens when you're hard on the binders into a corner, usually that means you're going to sacrifice the exit there. He did just that, lost a little bit of ground. You can see a little bit further back that purple, blue, and black number 82, Matt Hurley. He's trying to throw his hat into the ring there, closing in on Sean Reese. So that makes that a 4-car battle for that 10 spot. So some really, really good stuff there. Meanwhile, missing 0 up front as Mitch Heller has now gapped up to 3 seconds. Here comes Andrew Humphrey in that 69 car, closing in on Kevin Kyle in the purple and black McLaren. See the big boy, that Mustang didn't quite realize how much big it looks in relation, but yeah, it is definitely a big boy. Lost a lot of time there on the exit of the corner. Here comes Chris Sherburne, Les Turner. Turner is going to back off. and give the run and the position to Chris Sherburne entering one of the chicanes there. Just trying to back off and let him go. Maybe you'll get him back later. Doesn't want to risk making the mistake. I think that was exiting Tamburello, now exiting Villeneuve into Tosa here, turn number 7. Sherburne will see what he can do from that 6th spot. He has 2 seconds until he finds Todd Marinpietri back there. Marinpietri kind of running in his own little bubble in that 5th spot. Then you get Tommy Ryan about 2 seconds ahead of Todd. And then we find about a 1.5 seconds up, we find Dave Hill. About 3 seconds, or 2 seconds from Dave Hill to Mark Kedrowski. And then, of course, now the gap pushing up to 4 seconds on Mitch Heller. We have seen things kind of fizzle out here. Mark Adji in the pits. Remember, he didn't start the race on time. Oh, we have Mark Kedrowski into the pits here. Now, this is a very, very early stop. I mean, this is something that I have seen Mark Kedrowski do in the past. He hasn't executed this in a long time. Making that early stop, maybe trying to see if there's any advantage to it. In the past, it did work, and yeah, he's going to come in and take 9 seconds of fuel. That's typically about a league average. But he is going to pit at the 1/3 distance mark to this race. And not sure where that will shake him out, but either way, we do have a strategy play at hand here. Dale Green closing in. Another Corvette closing in. That number 250 closing in on Les Turner. Turner also in a Corvette here in the Batmobile. That was now currently a battle for the 6th spot now that Kedrowski has pit. Kedrowski now falling back to 19th spot after that pit stop. And I don't expect any other drivers to pit anytime soon. Traditionally, pit stops are probably most common here around the 10-minute mark in the race. So again, very uncommon to see pit stops before that. Chris Sherburne, I talked about him having about a 2-second deficit over Todd Marinpietri, but he has eaten that gap alive. Marinpietri either making mistakes or the rest of them just doing really, really well with eating into the gap. You could actually see the 3 cars behind, so I'm going to lead to believe that Marinpietri probably made a mistake or two, and that allowed them to eat that gap up. But now heading down the pit straightaway, I would watch that rear view, Mr. Marinpietri, because that gap is going to start shrinking. And we'll see if anybody decides to take a stab into Tamburello there. I highly doubt it, but I don't think they were close enough, but they'll be close enough to at least make you kind of look in the rear view mirror and keep you on your game there, and they will do just that. Exiting Tamburello, now heading into Villeneuve. We really are starting to create a conga line. You can see there on the long shot as Kevin Kyle and his McLaren finds itself onto pit road here. Again, just a little bit at this point, just a little bit before halfway. But we're starting to really create a conga line behind Todd Marinpietri. You can see Chris Sherburne, of course, not too far back. Now he's about 6/10, but then you have Les Turner, Dale Green, a little bit of a gap, and that takes us to Brian Irby in the Hooters car. And then we have another 3 or 4 cars lined up in the form of David Berry, Sean Reese, and Matt Hurley. But then you even have about a second back, you have Jim Graziano in that number 34 Porsche, that white car. So realistically, from about 4th to, I'd say as far back as 12th, we're not separated by too much. So one mistake will be very, very costly in this pack. You can see Todd got a little bit loose there exiting that corner, exiting Ravazza, missed the apex, as here comes a bunch of them on the pit road. Les Turner and I believe Irby coming in. David Berry. So a bunch of guys coming in the pit here. This is essentially the halfway point. We're about a lap before halfway, but still, you know, essentially at that halfway point. So that will kind of set that into play here. But Mitch Heller just doing Mitch Heller things, up by 6 seconds. And I'll tell you, last time by, he ran a 1:42. In fact, I'll just show you because I have the technology. A 1:42.89 to a 1:43.6 fastest on the track. Tommy Ryan in third, but Tommy is 7 seconds back. So really, it's just Mitch Heller is just in another cruise and don't wreck mode right now. Kudrowski trying to get by some back markers here. He's trying to move on up. He fell back to 19th. He's now up to 14th as he passes Bill Pollocky there. And he does obviously not want to get held up by these slower cars, because as he gets held up by the slower cars, it's going to increase the gap he'll inevitably have to Mitch Heller whenever Mitch does decide to make his pit stop. I think he was roughly about 5 seconds back prior, so anything more than that, and you know, it'll just perhaps put him even to the clutches of Dave Hill and Tommy Ryan, who are also showing some speed here tonight. And Gerald Livingston coming in the Marlboro car. So that puts us maybe at about half the field into the pits. Dwayne McCarthy in the 003. He's going to come to the attention of his crew in the Tim Hortons car. So that puts us essentially at half of the field coming to the attention of their crew. Still waiting on all of our front runners here. The top 11 still yet to pit, namely our race leader, now up by 7 seconds on the field, but second place still kind of in play here because Tommy Ryan only about a second behind Dave Hill. Of course, Hill did manage to get by, but Ryan not dropping off, maybe learning a little bit, maybe picking up his pace here as every lap goes by. You know, a lot of the guys in this series are oval centric, and they will admit it as such. So as every lap they turn on each circuit they may not be overly familiar with, they only get better and better, and that could be what's happening with Ryan here. The more he follows Dave Hill around this place, the faster he gets. Could be a little bit of what we see, a minor bit of it at least. But everybody's staying on track here. And this next lap should put us right at the halfway point. Or rather, 10 minutes to go point, excuse me. Well past the halfway point. We are on lap number 11 of an estimated 18 here on the evening. So not too much going on here on circuit. We do have a couple more cars coming out of the pits. Here comes Sean Reese in that number 24. He is out of the 13th spot. Mark Kudrowski still trying to still trying to click through the field. He has essentially passed all of the pitted drivers. Remember, he pit first. He pit before everybody else. And now he is up to the 10th spot. So now we'll see how things shake out once he does make his pit stop. And I'd have to imagine here, as we close in on 10 minutes to go, that we are going to see Mitch Heller and company likely come down, if not this time by, next time by. Or maybe he'll stretch it as long as physically possible. I mean, the opportunities are there when you have this big of a lead. don't really need to play any risk. So he's going to keep it out one more time, and we'll see if anybody else chooses to do the same. Here comes Dave Hill. He's going to keep it to the left side, keep it on the circuit, as is Tommy Ryan. Let's take a look at the next guys. Marapietri and Sherburne. Here comes Todd. Todd comes in for a pit stop here right around the 11-minute mark. Sherburne and Dale Green staying out, and that leaves Jim Graziano. He's going to stay out once more. Matt Hurley, Andrew Humphrey, and then right behind Humphrey you could see the shadows in the distance of Mark Kedrowski, who's down in the top 10, and he's just waiting for everything to shuffle out. Mitch Heller trying to go for the back-to-back here, as we do have Dennis Griffin in the pits, so that will further limit the amount of drivers who are yet to stay on track at this point. But Mitch Heller up by 8 seconds, and he's going to be the dominator. I said race 1, I think it was at Indianapolis, if I'm not mistaken, that, you know, he said he needed a little bit more experience here in these GT3s, not the car he runs regularly, so he's just learning the odds and ends and any tire model updates that may have happened in the build. And clearly in the past few weeks he has made significant progress, especially from last season. The past few seasons that he did race, he's been a little bit more sporadic lately due to personal reasons, but he's clearly figured out these GT3 cars. And our other guys who traditionally kind of kept him at bay are not here today, and Kedrowski doing the best he can to keep him at bay, but this track certainly Mitch just seems to have the secret sauce at. Qualifying was close till the very end, and Heller just pulled some magic out of his hat, and it's just been a Mitch Heller race ever since. Do have a couple guys in the pits. I think we saw Dave Hill come in right here. He is in that number 13 automobile. He's going to come to the attention of his crew. Matt Hurley also receiving service on that number 82, as we're now on lap number 13, still awaiting about 6 pit stops here left on the evening. So we'll wait and see how this works out in terms of the timing here. Very interested with that early pit stop strategy. Did it have any actual effect on how things shook out here for Kedrowski? Remember, he pit 10 minutes in. Everybody else is doing later stops, and here comes Mitch Heller with about just under 8 minutes to go, just about 4 laps left predicted on the board. He's going to come to the attention of his crew. Tommy Ryan to follow. Chris Sherburne, I would bet the farm he's probably going to bear a right turn, and yes, he will. And let's take a look at behind him. Dale Green, Jim Graziano just now entering Rivazza, I believe. So he has his opportunity just about now, and now the final one to complete the cycle will be Andrew Humphrey. So yes, indeed he will. Heller has already completed his service, about 10 seconds worth of racing fuel into his car, exiting back on track, and you can see he has quite the gap over the rest of the field. Tommy Ryan just now blending out. There goes Dave Hill, so they're going to come out together, and there comes Mark Kedrowski with a full head of steam. So unlike what has happened in prior seasons when he tried this late strategy, it actually worked against him. And why did it work against him? It worked against him because he had to navigate through a lot of traffic, and in doing so, as a 3-wide move there exiting the pits, Jim Graziano, Les Turner, and the 14 of David Berry, they worked through that. Everybody getting up to speed here. The Hooters car, Brian Irby, Remember, he was on the podium last week, but certainly not a podium effort here tonight. Behind him is Gerald Livingston. But yeah, the Mark Kadrowski had to pass a lot of those guys. He came out 19th, drove himself up to 10th. But having to pass those 9 cars, he was not able to run the individual hot laps that everybody else has been running. Of course, Mitch Hellard is running off in his own world. So all the time he lost passing those drivers, that has akin to him losing that time on the track and ultimately losing the spot to Dave Hill. And then as you look back, Tommy Ryan even starting to lose a little bit of touch with these drivers, losing a little bit of touch with Kadrowski. So Ryan and Hill were working in close proximity for that battle, but that battle seemingly over. And now Kadrowski is just going to see if he can replace the role and see if he can get up to second, recoup where he stood before. So Brian Irby is in the pits now, 1 lap down. I'll try to take a look and see if anything happened to him. I don't see any indication that he had an incident. But that is a second pit stop for Irby, so that'll put him back to the 20th position. That'll be last here on the evening because Mark Agee not taking to the grid here today. Only other driver off the lead lap is James Prostel Jr. in that number 16 car. But everybody pretty much in their own little bubble at this point. Everybody's separated by about 0.6 of a second or more. Dave Hill is doing a pretty good job hanging on to that second spot over Mark Kadrowski here, heading down hard on the binders into Rivazza. Those people in those houses getting a really nice view here. Would love to have that view in Rivazza, just having a house that's sitting right alongside the racetrack there. On that blip cam is clearly not going to do us any favors, but you can see here off in the distance, you'd see imagine sitting on one of those patios and just watching yourself a Formula One race or a sports car race or what have you, maybe a biking event, not sure what takes on here, but all the way things are, I almost bet Formula One would somehow manage to charge you for sitting in your own house and watching the race. I'm sure that's probably the case. Probably require that you have to have the windows closed. Who knows, maybe that'll be a YouTube, Google topic for me in the post-race here. But this battle now, just as I said, nothing of significance was going on. We now have a battle for the 10th spot. Turner has it, and both Graziano and Hurley want it. It's hard to tell who is going to make the first move. Is the move going to be made on Les Turner from Graziano, or is Matt Hurley going to make the move on Jim Graziano? I feel like it's going to be the latter here. But Hurley not getting on the power too well there, exiting the corner, is going to lose that time here, heading up the hill, getting ready for the left-hander. Gains all that time back there on Graziano, heading down the hill. Gets ready for the first right-hander, hard on the brakes for the second right-hander. And now here we come, I believe, heading into, where are we on circuit now? Another chicane. I think this is Grassini here, 14 and 15. And Les Turner going ultra wide there. It didn't really cost him too much on the stopwatch here, as we may be setting up for a battle for the second spot. Looks as though Dave Hill's lead has completely evaporated here. He's watching this battle, and guys getting hard on the brakes, but no pass to be made. But Mark Kadrowski has eaten that gap up. It was actually a little bit closer even, but now back up to a half a second, as we are going to be hitting that pivotal time in the race where we have to figure out how many laps we're going to have left. And I think the answer is going to be 1. We're at a minute left on the clock right now. And yeah, we're going to get one more lap out of this. I think we're going to hit the stripe here as a hard right-hand corner there. I think we're that was turn number 12. Yeah, we're probably going to hit the stripe with about 20 seconds left, 15 seconds left. So I think we're going to get that last lap here. Kind of a bonus lap, as we used to call it on our American Muscle Series events. And just as I thought Dave Hill was going to be under fire, Kedrowski made a couple mistakes and fell back. But Heart of the Binders here now heading into Rivazza. Again, this is going to be a very, very close run to the end, but we are going to have just enough time here. Probably hit the stripe with about 13 seconds. You can see here right at those green lights, Barney has the flag in hand. So this is what you call a bonus lap here in timed motorsports here. White flag is in the air, and now we'll head down into Tamburello for the final time. Keep a loose eye on that battle we were just following. Les Turner and Graziano and Hurley. You can see Gerald Livingston just behind, trying to put a hat into the ring. But as they head through Rivazza for the penultimate time for their battle, Les Turner getting on the power better. So I don't think anything's going to happen here. Hurley in the slipstream range of Graziano. And maybe, just maybe, he'll make a optimistic move in turn number 1. Hard on the brakes there. They're going to have to be. The move is on the table, and he is going to dive in, and Hurley's going to get it. Graziano's going to relinquish the spot, maintain the safety there, so move Matt Hurley into 11th. We'll see if he can pull off 10th before lap end. Dale Green and Todd Marinpietri there in a little skirmish for that 6th spot, as Mitch Heller nearly a double-digit lead here on the evening. Kedrowski has closed back in on Dave Hill. But he has half a lap to make something happen. But it's going to be rather difficult. Probably it's going to have to be into Rivazza at best. But coming down here, I think through the final couple corners here, Rivazza for the final time. Mitch Heller is going to go back-to-back here in Red Sox. Another dominating effort, flag to flag, with a nearly 10-second lead to spare. Mitch Heller gets race number 2, win number 2 in race number 3 here on the evening. Heading down the pit straight here, Dave Hill and Kedrowski. Kedrowski will lose the spot via the pit strat. Wasn't able to get them all back, so he'll have to settle for that spot. Dale Green in that 250, not able to make the pass on Marinpietri over the pit straight there. And then we'll go back to our other battle, Les Turner and Jim Graziano here coming through Rivazza. Gerald Livingston trying to throw a hat in the ring. Les Turner didn't get the final apex of Rivazza down. And oh, look at the number 67 of Livingston. Livingston makes a last corner pass, gets himself up to the 12th spot. So that was a good bit of driving. Graziano, I think he may have been more situated on making that pass on Les Turner and didn't set himself up very well and had to pay the price. But as I always say, these guys are going to make their cool down lap as they do have to make it back to the pits under their own power per the rule set here within the league. So while they do that, I'm going to go ahead and give you the final rundown of results here from Autodromo Enzo De Ferrari or something to that effect here. Sorry to offend all of the Italians in the world. Winning this race by a final margin that thereof 10 seconds. He did hit double digits. Mitch Heller gets it over Dave Hill. Mark Kedrowski in 3rd. Tommy Ryan in 4th. Chris Sherburne in 5th, with Todd Marinpietri in 6th. Dale Green in 7th. Sean Reese in 8th. David Berry in 9th. And then Matt Hurley finishes 10th here on the evening. Next page of results is as follows. Les Turner in 11th. Gerald Livingston in 12th. Jim Graziano in 13th, with Kevin Kyle in 14th, Dwayne McCarthy in 15th, and we have Dennis Griffin, Bill Lucky, Andrew Humphrey, James Prostel, and then Brian Irby rounding out our top 20. And then Mark Agee did not take to the grid here today, so he will finished 21st here. I don't know if he'll get points for the event because he didn't start it, but either way, that fact is worth mentioning. So now we'll just wait and see if we hear from any of these drivers as they get ready for the post-race show. I don't have anybody quite yet, but I'm sure Mitch Heller will be here in a jiffy. He does always tends to be. Again, he has I don't know where he stands in the point standings. I was not able to check that out ahead of time, but he's gonna have most likely the points lead, and if he didn't already have it, he'll have it by a little bit more. In fact, here he is. I do have Heller and Kedrowski here. So Mitch goes back to back with another dominating effort here at Imola. I thought Kedrowski was going to have something for you in practice, but that last couple minutes of qualifying, you pulled something out of the hat and you carried that whole pace into the race.
Yeah, the qualifying time turned out pretty good, and I got to practice the track a couple of times this week, and so I felt pretty good coming into this race.
Yeah, clearly the case there, because you won by over 10 seconds. Kedrowski tried a little alternate pit strategy, but it did not work out in his favor. So this will most likely give you the points lead, and then next week we head to the Nürburgring of America. We head to VIR, a track that gives you no breaks whatsoever. So what kind of confidence can you take in there for going back to back?
Let's just say that track is awesome, super fun. I really enjoy it. It's big, it's long, and so I think it'll be an interesting race. I saw Dave Hill was creeping up on me in the race. I was a little concerned about that earlier, but yes, I'm thinking it's going to be competitive next week.
All right, well, we'll see what you can bring there next week. Congrats on another solid victory and getting a good solid points day and leading yourself into another championship run.
Awesome. Thanks, Corey. Have a good night.
See ya.
Bye.
All right, and Mark Kedrowski, I do have him here. He is muted. Hopefully he unmutes for a brief word. And
exactly, yeah. How you doing?
All right, well, I never got to talk to you after Indy, so congratulations on the win on race number 1. You've definitely,
thank you.
You've definitely picked up the speed here, and you were really close to Mitch for the majority of everything until about the last minute of qualifying. He pulled out a banger and then just carried it through the rest of the race.
Yeah, such a banger.
So, I mean, what was the gut? How much of a gut punch was that? And what did you try to do in the race to make up for it?
Mitch is, always fast, so it's not exactly a gut punch, half expecting it. But after Indy, I was hopeful, that I would be able to beat him sometimes. But he's just, it was a one-off at Indy. He's just, just that fast. It's, leagues above us. So it was fun, though. Really fun. And then, as far as Dave goes, it's like, in the race, I had the better of him the whole time, but I got a slowdown after he came out of the pits. I pitted early just to not give him the draft, and then I got a slowdown, and it was all over because we were basically the same speeds.
Yeah, I was going to say with that pit stop, I was a little bit worried for you because you did work your way from 19th. You passed a bunch of cars, but I imagine passing those cars might have cost you a little bit on the stopwatch. You think that might have been what put you back in third?
Yeah, I needed a mental reset as well, just, because I was just, focusing on other cars and not on my driving, basically. And so, I ended up coming out ahead of Dave in the pits, after he pitted, so it was all good there, but just, again, that slowdown through the chicane just killed me.
Yeah, well, and passing cars is always fun, too, whether it counts or not. But either way, man,
it's fun. It's fun.
We'll see what you can do at VIR next week. That'll be a tricky one. We'll see what you got for him.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And last but not least, in the interview pattern, but second overall here tonight. Dave Hill, Mark was just saying that he thought he had you, but he got himself a slowdown at the very end, and that just kind of gave you that little buffer you needed. But he said,
I knew he was going to blame it on that.
Oh, well, in that case...
If he's listening, I would have beat him. I just would have had to do it the hard way. So, no, I'm just kidding. He ran a good race.
Yeah, so as per usual, Mitch was in his own little bubble, but you guys were at it. You were making some good passes and, in some good competition all race. But all in all, just, how is this track usually in your repertoire? Is it usually one you look forward to, or did you kind of have to learn it on the fly?
No, I like Imola. Raced there quite often. First time in the Mustang though, but it's I like it. It's fun. It's pretty technical. I do find though that some of the sausage curbs that I used to be able to just run right over. I don't know if it's all the GT3 cars now, but the Mustang for sure, man. It sends you into the wall if you even look at it the wrong way. So. It's you really have to tiptoe around them, and I know I'm losing a lot of time there, but I've ended up in some bad crashes in practice because of that. So I figure losing a bit of time is a little better than losing the race altogether. So yeah, that was interesting, but no, I enjoyed it, and yeah, you're right. It was a good battle between second and third, Mark and Tommy there for a while. So it must have been pretty boring for Mitch up front, but we were having a great time.
Yeah, well, as long as you're having fun, that's all that matters. And speaking of, always being on top of the game next week at VIR, a track that never gives you any kind of a break outside of maybe one straightaway. So what's the confidence level heading into that place next week?
I like that track too, and have a bunch of laps there. Again, haven't been there with the Mustang, but hopefully it won't be too bad to pick up quickly, and I am looking forward to it. And yeah, it's a tough one, so people are gonna have to bring out their A game, I guess. So, but anyways, congrats to Mitch and also Mark and Tommy. It was a fun race.
All right, man. Well, congrats on a solid run for yourself as well, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, thanks, Corey.
Yep. All right, so that'll wrap things up here this evening. Mitch Heller with another dominating victory here in Red Sox. But make sure you stay tuned, like and subscribe. Again, we will be back tomorrow night with some Gen 6 action at Martinsville, SSRL on Saturday. And then we will be starting anew next week with another full week of content. Make sure you don't miss any of the action. That's going to be Corey signing out of the booth. Have a great night, and we'll catch you next time.